Welcome to the Spring Boot course where we're going from complete beginner to building production-ready REST APIs. I'm really excited about this course because we're not just going to learn theory, we're going to build a real application together. This course is ideal for beginners, but also for those people that are just looking to brush up their knowledge on building REST APIs using Spring Boot. Let's start with the main question: what is Spring Boot? Think of it this way: Spring Framework is incredibly powerful, but it's also complex to set up. Spring Boot takes all that power and makes it simple. It's like going from building a car from scratch to getting one that's already assembled. You just need to drive it. By the end of this course, you'll have built a complete task management REST API. You will be able to create, read, update, and delete tasks, search and filter tasks, handle validation and errors properly, secure your API using Spring Security, and make it production ready. Before we start, you should know basic Java, such as building classes, objects, methods, and OOP concepts. The rest we will cover in this video. We are ready to start now. First thing first, we need to create our Spring Boot project. Spring makes this super easy with Spring Initializer. So open a browser page and head over to start.spring.io. And let me walk you through the options we're going to see on this page. So project type, we're going to be using Maven. Maven is going to handle our project dependencies. It's the most common one used in the industry, but Gradle works too. Language, of course, we're going to be using Java. Spring Boot version, we're going to be using the latest Spring Boot 4. I also suggest you avoid using these snapshots for learning especially. So let's stick to Spring Boot 4, which is the latest stable version. This is usually the company's domain, so in this case LeetJourney, but it can be anything for you and it's written in reverse order. Then we want to give a name to the artifact. So in this case, we're building a task manager. So let's call it task manager. Name looks good as well. Package name is autofilled and this is good. It's basically the group plus the artifact name. Description, this is optional, but we can add task management REST API. For Java, if you're using Spring Boot 4, you need to make sure that you're using at least Java 17. In my case, I'm going to be using Java 21. Packaging, we're going to use jar. And configuration, we're going to be using properties. There is also the option to use YAML configuration. In industry, most of the times, application to properties is used. So this is the standard really. Now the fun part, dependencies. So these are the dependencies we're going to need to build this task manager REST API. So let's start by adding the first dependency, Spring Web. So Spring Web gives us everything to build the REST APIs. We then want JPA, which is Spring Data JPA. This is needed for database operations. For now, we're going to start with an in-memory database. So we're going to be using H2 database, and this is okay for learning, but later on in the video, we are going to change this with something else, which is used in the industry. So for now, let's start with H2 database. We are going to be using Lombok. This is going to reduce boilerplate code. And for validation of the input, we're going to be using validation. Click generate, and this is going to download a zip file that is going to contain our project. We want to extract this and open it in an IDE. I'm going to be using IntelliJ, but Eclipse or VS Code work great too. Let me show you our project structure. The pom.xml file you see here has all of our dependencies that we're going to need for now. The main application class is here under source, main, Java, and under the main package. And under resources, we've got application.properties. This is where we'll configure things. Let's start by running this project we just downloaded. So let's create a configuration. If you go at the top, click edit configuration. Click on plus, application, let's call it task manager. we want to select our main class, which is Task Manager Application. This is the default class that comes with Spring Initializer, and the rest we can leave the same. Let's click Apply, OK, and let's run this application. See that Spring Boot has just started a web server on port 8080 using Tomcat. Look at all this auto configuration happening. We didn't write any XML configuration or set up any code, and that's the power of Spring Boot magic. Let's start by writing our first endpoint to prove that this application actually works. So let's close this and let's stop the application for now. Go to the main package, right click, and let's create a new class. We'll call it hello controller .java. In here you want to add a tag, REST controller, and let's create an endpoint. So let's create a get mapping /hello public string, say hello, and we do hello world. So let's start the application again. We can see this has started successfully. Again, we have a Tomcat server running on port 8080. So now open a browser page. I'm going to be using this integrated browser I have installed. And let's go to localhost 8080/hello. So we are going to be calling this endpoint. Let's see what happens. You can see hello world is getting printed. Beautiful. We just created our first REST endpoint in about 10 lines of code, and we didn't have to do any kind of configuration, and that's to show you the power of Spring Boot. Before we move on, let's understand what has just happened. Let's go back to our main application class, and let's start by looking at this code. So let's look at this tag, Spring Boot application. This annotation is doing 3 things. So this one tag is equal to 3 tags. So the first one is configuration. This tells Spring that this class can have configuration. Then this says enable auto configuration. This is where the magic happens. Spring Boot looks at our class path and auto configures beans. And then we've got component scan. This scans package and sub-packages for components. So these 3 tags can be translated to this one tag at Spring Boot application. If we go back to our controller, when we added the REST controller up here, Spring component scanning found it automatically. So component scan found this component, the controller component, and we didn't have to register this anywhere, it just works. This is actually called Spring magic. Auto configuration is why we didn't configure a web server. So we can see we got a Tomcat web server running on port 8080. Spring Boot saw that we had Spring Web on the class path and thought they probably want a web server, so it just configured Tomcat for us. Traditional Spring requires a lot of XML or Java configuration. Spring Boot says, I'll guess what you need, and if I'm wrong, you can just override me. That's the difference between Spring and Spring Boot, and that's also one of the reasons why Spring Boot is used more in the industry nowadays. Okay, now that we understand the foundation, let's build something real.